Hello everyone. Today we will discuss how to use single and double quotes in our query formula without errors. We'll cover the most common examples and, in general, how to use single and double quotes in our query requests. Let's start by breaking down what our function consists of. The query function consists of data, specifically a range that we'll manipulate and use to define certain requests, and the query request itself. This function helps us work with ranges, either by filtering values, transforming ranges into averages, sums, and so on, or sorting and filtering them. So first, we select our data range. In our example, we have a main table that contains a list of employees with their salaries and other criteria. We select this data range, and then we start adding our query. In our query, it is crucial to know that double quotes are used at the beginning and end of the request. Therefore, before entering our query, we must place double quotes. This way, the formula understands that our query has started. After this, we input select. In this case, if we want to highlight the entire table, we use an asterisk, entering asterisk as select all. Now let's say we want to filter the data by department and display only values related to the sales department. To do this, we add a condition with where, specify the column number 2, and use the equal sign. Now we'll need single quotes. This is the first and most common use case when working with text data. We place a single quote, input our value sales, close the quote, and then close the entire query. The formula is ready. As we can see, it worked, and we obtained all the data for the sales department. What mistakes can occur? Mistakes can happen if we forget to close single quotes after entering a value. In this case, an error will be displayed. Therefore, the first thing to check is that single quotes are always closed after the entered value. Mistake number 2 occurs when we use extra spaces. Since the query performs an exact match based on the key we enter, adding spaces won't show an error, but the query will not work correctly and won't display the desired value. We must ensure there are no unnecessary spaces. Another issue with single quotes is trying to use them with non-text formats such as numeric values. Let's look at an example. Selecting the third column, salary, and filtering by a numeric value. For instance, instead of sales, we use 4,500. We see that although no error is displayed, the query doesn't work. Therefore, we do not use single quotes with numeric data. For numeric values, we simply write the number as it is. We can specify equal to or greater than signs. Consequently, the formula will provide the corresponding results. If we are talking about date format, let's select a specific date and try to add it to our query. Accordingly, we change the column number to the 4th one and, for example, specify that it should be greater than the given date. As we can see, if we simply add the date in its current format, the formula does not work. We can add it in quotes, but even then, the query won't work. This is because when we add quotes, the data is automatically converted to text, and the formula interprets it as text. However, here we are dealing with a date format, so this approach is not suitable. In this case, when working with dates, it is essential to include the word date to indicate that the text value should be interpreted as a date. Now we see that the query works correctly using 2 single quotes and the date indicator. These are the most common errors. The first thing to pay attention to is always closing single quotes. Second, use single quotes only with text data or dates, but for dates, remember to add the date indicator. Do not use single quotes with numeric values and avoid unnecessary spaces. Additionally, I want to recommend a useful tip for using this formula in a way that allows values to be entered dynamically instead of being hard-coded into the formula. Here I have highlighted a key that can change. For instance, I want the query formula to update automatically when the data changes. To do this, we need to use double quotes again. Since we need a reference to a cell, we will now switch the column to number 2. We want column 2 to be checked against a value contained in a specific cell of the table. For this, we open a single quote because we're performing a text-based search. Then we step outside the query, create double quotes, and inside the double quotes, we use an ampersand to reference our cell, closing with another ampersand. Single quotes indicate that this is text. Double quotes allow us to step outside the query to reference the table dynamically instead of using hard-coded text. Using the ampersand in this structure, double quotes and the ampersand, makes this approach work. Once implemented, the formula works correctly. Now, if we change the value in the reference cell to something else, the formula will update automatically without requiring manual adjustments to the formula itself, as it dynamically references the table. That's all for now. Try to avoid these common mistakes, and the query function will significantly simplify your work with data. Give it a like if you enjoyed the video. If you still have any questions, ask them in the comments.